Namaskar. Today it's May 11th, 2026. Welcome to day 59 of Satvik Yogi Path. Each year on March 14 begins my 100-day journey in returning to the essence of yoga towards the celebration of International Day of Yoga on June 21st. This year I chose to revisit Maharishi Patanjali's Yoga Sūtra and share my daily practices inspired by it. Welcome to day 59th of Satvik Yogi Path. This is Satvik Yogi Path, not a ritual, not a performance, not aesthetics, but it is by awareness. A simple, global way of living with clarity is Satvik Yogi Path. Yesterday, on day 58, we explored the third affliction, kleśa, and that is rāga, attachment to pleasure. Today, Maharishi Patanjali defines the fourth kleśa, affliction. In Yoga Sūtra 2.8, that is the 8th Yoga Sūtra from the second chapter, Sadhana Pad. So let us recite the Yoga Sūtra 2.8, that is 8th Yoga Sūtra from Sadhana Pad, chapter 2. And it says, Dukhanushayi Dveṣa. Once again, Dukhanushayi Dveṣa. Dveṣa, which is aversion. Aversion is rooted in the memory of pain. And you may find it the exact opposite of attachment or rāga. Dukhanushayi Dveṣa. Dveṣa is aversion rooted in the memory of pain. It is the push away that forms when the mind remembers pain and wants to avoid it. Before I move forward, let me give a shout out to Zentrix 0007 hyphen F5T. Hello, how are you? Whenever I read 0007, I only remember, immediately I remember of the name is Bond. But I like your username. Thank you for joining Zentrix 007. Then I have Red Carpet Experience 6331. Amazing. I love your username. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hello. So, this is so wonderful. Every day as I share my daily practices, and I get comments from some of the, I would say, the best usernames. I really love to give a shout out to. So, what is Dveṣa? Dveṣa is the aversion. Dveṣa is the opposite movement of the third kleśa, the affliction, the third affliction of the mind, which is attachment. So it is only the push away that forms when the mind remembers pain and wants to avoid it. It is not anger. It is not hatred. It is the reflexive recoil of the mind. How beautiful. It is the reflexive recoil of the mind to avoid, whenever the mind remembers pain, it just wants to avoid it. And that is aversion, the push away. The push away that forms whenever the mind remembers the pain. Dukhanushayi, dvesh. Now let us break it down word by word. Dukh is pain. Anushayi is lying dormant, carried as residue, so lying dormant. And dvesh is aversion. Dvesh is the aversion that rests on the memory of the pain. So dvesh, aversion, forms in 3 steps. 1. A painful experience occurs. 2. The mind remembers it. 3. The memory becomes a push, a recoil. So, first, a painful experience occurs. We are discussing how dvesh forms, how aversion, the push away that forms when the mind remembers the pain, how that forms, how in the first place aversion forms. So, when first is a painful experience occurs, and then the mind remembers it, and then the memory becomes a push, a recoil. So the situation is not the problem, the recoil is the problem. Dvesh creates avoidance, resistance, emotional triggers, defensiveness, fear of repetition. Yesterday, I shared about my mother who left me, but we were discussing attachment. Attachment that is rooted in the memory of pleasure. And just the opposite movement, dvesh, is aversion that is rooted in the memory of pain. So the same incident, I would say, a painful experience that my mother has left me. And then, whenever the mind remembers it, the memory becomes a push, recoil, and that is exactly what I try to do. I I try to avoid it, or I just resist it, and it's it triggers, so emotional triggers. It works as emotional triggers. But dvesh softens. So when dvesh softens, the mind becomes free to respond instead of react. I have a very good analogy today to explain dvesh, aversion, the hot stove memory. And I believe most of us may have, I'm using the word may, have been through this analogy that I'm going to share. So a child touches a hot stove once. The pain leaves a memory. The memory becomes a reflexive pullback, right? Aversion. A child touches the hot stove once. The pain leaves a memory, and that memory becomes a reflexive pullback. Maharishi Patanjali says that Dvesh is this reflex, the reflexive pullback, carried into situations that are not stoves. Dvesh is not about the present moment, it is about the past moment, and the mind is still carrying. The mind is still carrying. I can give you an example of my recent Mother's Day celebration. My mom left me 2 years ago, and since for the past 2 years, I've been trying my best to record a podcast that, and I've not been able to. Since my mom left, I've not been able to resume my radio shows, resume my podcast. So I decided that no, I have to record a podcast celebrating Mother's Day, which I did, by the way, after 2 years of continuous attempts. So I was able to do. So it is every time I was avoiding that recoil, the reflexive pullback, that I do not want that memory of the pain works as emotional triggers in me. So it is about the past moment that my mind is still carrying. So the mind is not avoiding the situation, it is avoiding the memory. Once again, dvesh or aversion is not about the present moment, it is about the past moment. The mind is still carrying. So the mind is not avoiding situation, it is avoiding the memory. This is why dvesh is powerful and often unconscious. When I soften the memory, the moment becomes lighter. So, what do we have for our practice for today? We will notice one small aversion. Well, I can work with my painful memory, and that is that my mom left me. So the situation, my mom left me. Second practice is observe the memory behind it. Just observe. Just observe. So we begin with noticing a small aversion and then observing the memory behind it. And then we let the breath soften the recoil. And then we jump or repeat 3 Om. We are softening. We are softening the aversion. And then we contemplate bhavna on ease. So let us start with our stillness practice. The first one is sit and settle. In sit and settle, that's our first stillness practice, where we go in 4 steps. First one, we observe our breath. Second, we breathe with awareness. Third, we equalize our breath. And the fourth, we lengthen the exhalation from the inhalation. So, 4 steps in the first practice of sit and settle. So, I'll take off my glasses. Let us just sit. And if you are standing right now, just back and spine straight. Roll your shoulder if you have to. So your chest opens up and you're looking at a point at the eye level with a smile on your face, with one hand gently onto your navel, if you can see on your navel. And you would just breathe, just observe. Only observe your breath. No judging, just observe your breath. We take 3 breaths. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Just observing or noticing our breath. Next step comes in with awareness. We again take 3 breaths, breath cycle with awareness. Remember, you are seated right now with your back and spine straight, your chin slightly tucked in, and one hand gently over your navel, and with your smile. You breathe in with awareness, breathe out with awareness, and remember your hand is placed and your navel as the belly rises, and as you exhale, it distends. So let's do it. We do it in 3. Begin. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out, and relax. And by now, you know the third step where we use a breath technique, and that is we equalize our breath. And how do we do it? We count the breath, the inhalation, and equalize the count while exhaling. So that's the breath technique that we are using, equalizing our breath with awareness. Let's do it. Make sure back and spine is straight, your chin is slightly tucked in, and you are smiling. So let's do it again. 3 breath cycle, but this time we are equalizing our breath. Breathe in, 2. Breathe out, 2. Breathe in, 2. Breathe out, 2. Last, breathe in, 2. Breathe out, 2. And just stay like that. And open your eyes. And the last one, in sit and settle your breath. The first practice of stillness is now comes the goal, the objective of breathing right. And that is increasing exhalation from inhalation in a breath cycle. So to do that, we would count the inhalation and we would double the count of exhalation. So thereby we are lengthening the or increasing the exhalation time from inhalation. So let us also hear 3 breath cycle. Let's do it. I'll count to 2. Breathe in, 2. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, and relax. So here, the first step in settling our breath is that we just observe our breath. Next, we breathe with awareness. Third, we equalize our breath. And fourth, we increase the exhalation counts from the inhalation count. So once our breath is settled, we move on to the next practice, which is noticing one aversion. It could be a task, it could be a person, it could be a feeling or a situation. In my case, it is a person, and that's my mother. So that aversion, the person, mother, my mother, I would just observe, notice one aversion. What is aversion? Aversion is the recoil, the reflexive pullback. So I noticed you could notice one small aversion, a task, a person, or a feeling, or any situation. Once you have noticed, you would ask gently, what memory of pain is behind this? You notice one small aversion. It could be a task, a person, a situation, a feeling. And then you ask yourself, what memory of pain is behind this? And then once you have asked yourself, let the breath soften the pullback, the reflexive pullback, the avoidance, the defensiveness, the pullback, the recoil. And now let the breath soften it. No force, no resistance. Just as you settled your breath, let your breath soften it with gentle repetition of Om. The rises in the belly, the O moves through the chest, and the vibration softens at the lips. So let's repeat Om in 3 3 cycle. We'll take a deep breath in, and with exhalation, Take a deep breath in. Oh. Take a deep breath in. Oh. And the last, take a deep breath in. Oh. Just stay like that. And open your eyes. And the last step in our stillness practice for today is bhavna, contemplating on ease. Ease. Now, we would say, I soften the recoil. I soften the recoil. So the aversion is not the person or the task or the situation or the feeling, but it is the reflexive pullback, the recoil, the avoidance, the resistance. We are softening that. Now, here is day 59 challenge for you. You would notice one moment today where the mind pulls away and soften the pull. Where the mind pulls away and soften the pull. That's the challenge. Day 59 teaches us that aversion is not about the moment. Aversion, dvesh, is not about the moment. It is about the memory of pain. I'm so glad that you all have joined. Thank you. Thank you for practicing with me today. Your steadiness is real journey. Showing up every day. I am thankful to you. We meet again tomorrow. Until then, stay warm, stay open, and most importantly, stay honest to your own story. Thank you.